Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Great to be here.
Today, we're really stepping into something interesting. It's this mix of tech, politics, law, all focused on South Korea and its new president, Lee Jae-myung.
That's right. We've been, digging into this analysis article. It really tries to unpack what President Lee coming into office means.
For the country's politics, sure, but also, and this is probably key for many of you listening, for the world of crypto.
Yeah, definitely.
So our mission today, basically, is to cut through all the noise. We want to pull out the essential insights from this source.
So you can really understand Lee's background, his specific plans for digital assets.
And crucially, these pretty significant political and legal challenges he's facing, like right now as he takes office.
It's a really unique situation, isn't it? You've got this leader, seemingly crypto-friendly, but stepping into power with all this controversy swirling.
Exactly. We'll guide you through what you really need to know.
Okay, so where do we start? His background.
Yeah, let's start with the man himself. The article paints this really compelling rags to riches picture of Lee Jae-myung.
Mm-hmm.
It talks about him being a child laborer, post-war South Korea, then a factory worker.
And somehow, against the odds, becoming a human rights lawyer.
Right. And that whole experience coming up from, well, pretty tough beginnings.
It really shaped his politics. The source calls him a left-leaning populist.
Someone who speaks to the ordinary person against the elites.
Exactly. Deep working-class roots. And he's got this reputation as a fighter, a reformer.
He almost won the presidency back in 2022, didn't he? A narrow loss.
Very narrow. And this time, his campaign really focused on this idea of a basic society.
Right. Which means things like shorter work weeks, targeted basic income.
Yeah, policies aimed at improving daily life for regular Koreans.
And the article kind of connects that underdog story, his rise,
to his support for small businesses and startups. It fits his narrative of economic empowerment.
Okay, so that sets the stage. Now let's pivot to the crypto angle, because that's where it gets particularly interesting for people tracking this space. President Lee's policy agenda.
Right. The general feeling, according to the source, is that his presidency is going to be a pretty big boost for crypto in South Korea.
A catalyst, even.
Mm-hmm.
Accelerating how digital assets fit into the main financial system.
Yeah, that seems to be the expectation, moving beyond just, compliance-first thinking.
Towards more like a green light for real integration with traditional finance.
Exactly. And a huge piece of that puzzle is likely the Digital Asset Basic Act, or DABA.
Now, this wasn't totally his idea from the start, right? The previous government was working on it.
Correct. Progress was already happening, but he is expected to really push it over the finish line.
And the source gets specific about what might be in DABA. It mentions comments from Min Byung-dug.
Mm-hmm.
He leads the Democratic Party's Digital Asset Committee.
And he talks about things like a legally recognized SRO, a self-regulatory body for the industry, also a specific system for approving stablecoins, which is, really important given what happened with Terra.
Definitely. Clearer rules for crypto companies, too.
Yeah, clearer rules for crypto service providers. More predictability.
And beyond just DABA, Lee himself championed some other specific crypto ideas during the campaign.
Oh, yeah. He talked about approving spot crypto ETFs. They're banned right now.
Right.
And letting the National Pension Service, which is massive, invest in digital assets.
Okay, but the source adds some context here, doesn't it? Saying the ETF discussion was already heating up.
It does. It notes that regulators were already looking at ETFs, and the Financial Services Commission had a plan for bringing in institutional investors anyway.
Plus, his main rival apparently supported similar things.
Yeah, so it suggests there was already some bipartisan movement towards integrating crypto more.
But Lee had one proposal that was really distinct, wasn't it? Something about a stablecoin.
Yes. This is interesting. A specific one-based stablecoin.
And the article explains how it would work. Centralized, backed by fiat currency.
Exactly. And it makes a point of contrasting it with Terra's failure, which, really hurt Korean investors.
That makes sense.
And get this, Min Byung-dug, the committee leader, even suggested promoting these one stable coins in Southeast Asia.
Using K-pop and K-dramas. Seriously.
Leveraging K-culture, yeah. It shows the level of ambition they're talking about.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
What else? He wanted to change the one exchange, one bank rule.
Right. And that matters because, as the source explains, that rule basically forces each crypto exchange to partner with just one specific bank for the real name accounts.
Which makes it hard for new exchanges to even get started.
Creates a bottleneck, yeah. Concentrates power, kind of a monopoly for the existing big players. Changing it could really open things up.
So looking at the big picture, the source suggests a lot of these crypto policies kind of had momentum already.
Pretty much. There was this broad expectation of a more crypto-friendly approach, almost regardless of who won.
Though his inauguration speech didn't actually say crypto,
No, but it mentioned AI, emerging tech.
suggesting crypto might just fall under that general innovation umbrella.
Seems likely. So the policy direction seems relatively clear, builds on existing trends.
Okay. But that's just one side of the coin, isn't it?
Absolutely. Because his presidency is also tangled up with some major political issues, tricky foreign relations, and these very serious legal problems.
Right. And you really can't understand the crypto picture without getting these other factors.
Yeah.
Let's start with North Korea. His approach is different,
Yeah, he wants to reopen communication channels, push for dialogue, peace talks.
which is a shift from the last administration's harder line.
Definitely. The previous government had kind of walked back some of the diplomatic efforts made by former President Moon Jae-in.
But North Korea itself is a problem in the digital space, right? The source mentions hacks.
Oh, big time. Linked to huge crypto hacks, the source cites a Bybit figure, $1.4 billion for 2024, calling it potentially the largest ever.
Wow.
State-sponsored hackers allegedly posing as job applicants to get inside firms.
And the suspicion is they use this stolen crypto to fund, what, weapons programs.
That's the allegation, yeah. Which obviously makes any attempt at dialogue much, much harder.
Okay, what about wider foreign policy? U.S., Japan, China?
He wants to keep strong ties with the U.S. and Japan, that's pretty standard. But he also wants better relations with China.
Which the source says is maybe a change from the last administration, which some felt alienated Beijing.
Right. He calls it balanced diplomacy.
Balanced diplomacy. How's that going down?
Mixed reactions, apparently. Some see it as pragmatic, necessary given China's economic clout. Others worry it might weaken ties with the West.
And China's President Xi reacted.
Yeah, Xi apparently vowed to strengthen relations after Li won. So it's definitely being watched closely.
Okay, shifting back home, the domestic political scene he's inheriting sounds pretty turbulent, too.
Yeah, the source mentions the previous president's impeachment, the second one in less than 10 years, and that whole martial law controversy.
So Li's promising to strengthen democracy, prevent abuses of power.
That's the pledge. He's proposing reforms like separating investigation and prosecution powers.
Tackling the power of the prosecutors.
It seems like it. And also amending the Constitution to 4-year terms instead of 1 5-year term for presidents.
His whole political style is part of this, too, isn't it?
Yeah,
The source describes him as a populist outsider.
very much so. Taking on the elites, using that working class rhetoric.
Combative style, especially online.
Yeah, which energized a lot of voters who felt left out, but also drew criticism.
For, like, making politics more toxic, promoting conspiracies.
That's the criticism the source mentions, yeah.
And this combative, polarizing aspect seems to follow him into the legal arena. This is probably the biggest cloud over his presidency right now.
It really is. The source lays out this unprecedented situation. He's taking office facing 5 major ongoing legal cases.
5 simultaneously. That's a lot.
It's an incredible burden right from the start. Case 1 is about election law violations.
Allegedly making false statements back in the 2022 campaign. What's happening with that one?
Well, the Supreme Court actually ruled he did make false statements. They sent the case back, remanded it to the Seoul High Court for a retrial based on that finding.
A retrial. When?
Scheduled for June 18th.
June 18th.
Yeah.
That's basically immediately after taking office.
Yeah, it makes it instantly relevant.
Okay, case number 2.
Corruption charges. This goes back to when he was mayor of Songnam City.
Yeah.
Allegations of colluding with developers on a property deal. The claim is the developers made huge profits, but the city lost out. That trial's ongoing at Seoul Central District Court.
Got it. And number 3.
Misuse of public funds. Accused of using public money for personal stuff while he was governor of Gyeonggi Province. That one's at Seoul District Court.
Okay, so those are tied to past jobs. What's the 4th? Something about North Korea again. Illegal money transfer.
Correct. Alleged complicity in sending funds north back in 2018. Prosecutors say it violated laws like the Foreign Exchange Transactions Act.
That trial is also at Suwon District Court.
Yes.
And the 5th and final one?
Subornation of perjury. Accused of getting a witness to lie in a 2019 trial.
What's the status there?
A lower court actually acquitted him, but the prosecution appealed. So now it's before the Seoul High Court.
So 5 serious cases across different courts, all live issues as he becomes president.
Hmm.
And this creates a huge legal question mark, doesn't it? Something the source flags.
A massive one. Presidential immunity. Article 84 of the Constitution says a president can't be prosecuted while in office.
But the question is, does that immunity cover trials that were already happening before he took office?
Exactly. And the source emphasizes this has never happened before in South Korea. A president taking office already facing criminal charges, it's uncharted territory.
And legal experts don't agree on the answer.
Apparently not. They're divided. And with that first hearing in the election law case on June 18th, the courts are going to have to figure this out fast.
What does this mean practically then? He's trying to govern
While potentially facing indictment, conviction, or it's a constant distraction, creates enormous uncertainty for everything, including those crypto policies we talked about.
Okay, let's try and tie this all together for you, the listener.
Yeah.
Especially if you're watching the crypto market. What's the takeaway here?
Well, you've got this kind of contradictory story playing out in a really major crypto market.
On one side, a new president who's expected to really push South Korea forward in crypto. Specific policies, institutional integration, opening the market.
Right, ambitious plans. But then, on the other side,
You have that same leader starting day one under this huge shadow of multiple serious legal fights. Plus intense political division at home, tricky foreign relations, North Korea causing trouble.
it means understanding what happens next in South Korea's crypto journey isn't just about the crypto policies themselves.
You have to watch all these intersecting things, the politics, the diplomacy, North Korea's actions, and especially these personal legal battles.
Absolutely. They're all going to massively impact the stability and the actual direction of South Korea's crypto ambitions. It's crucial for grasping the bigger picture, globally even.
It's such a strange setup. You have crypto policies that maybe had bipartisan support anyway,
Suggesting a certain path forward was likely.
but then the leader championing them is facing these unprecedented legal threats right out of the gate.
Yeah. So maybe the final thought to leave you with is this. Given that many of these core crypto policies seemed likely anyway, maybe even bipartisan,
But the president himself is starting under such unique and intense legal pressure, such political instability.
what does that specific combination really mean for the stability, the reliability, the actual future of South Korea's big push into institutional crypto?
Definitely something to keep an eye on as this all unfolds. That's our deep dive for today.